Hi, welcome to the very first episode of Jeroboam's Underground Wine Club. My name is Ben Price with OGO Initiative.
I'm Eric Russo with Russo's Market.
And we're going to try some wines today. The reason that we started doing this was to expose people to different wines that we have at the store and that we maybe not have at the store, but also just to educate folks on varietals and places in the world and just what you can look for and hopefully have some fun and drink some good wine at the same time. We got two Chardonnays today. The first one, which I'll go ahead and pour and have my friend take some here. These are both Chardonnays. This is from France, from a region called Chablis in Burgundy. This is 100% Chardonnay. It is what they call a premier cru. So in Burgundy, the crus are, or the ratings are by the vineyard, not by the house. So there's Grand Cru vineyards, and then there's just regular Chablis or Burgundy vineyards, and then there's Premier Cru, which is right in between. It kind of has to do with where it's at on the hillside. So this is a pretty good place in Chablis. This is a 2014 vintage, and the winemaker is Moutard-Diligent, who is also a famous champagne producer. So that is interesting. So we're going to kind of go through what we do when we do a tasting, and then we'll kind of talk about it and just goof around a little bit. So this is color very clear, almost a greenish hue, wouldn't you say? Like you get a little bit of that, like a greenish tint, straw tint to it. Very light.
Edges are kind of that straw yellow, but the middle is kind of that green.
Pretty light for a Chardonnay. For most of the Chardonnays, I'd say we'd have. We would kind of expect that. Chablis traditionally are very lower oak. Or no oak, and so you'd expect it to not have that darker color. We'll get into that in a minute with the Raeburn. Star bright though. There's no haziness. There's no bubbles. Nothing. Just straight bright. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Legs are thicker than I thought they'd be.
Yeah. For a lot of times when we talk about legs, it has to do with the consistency of the wine and how much alcohol's in it. It's not really a marker of quality as much as just giving you an indication. This has got nice.
What the body's kind of going to be.
What the body's going to be like, yeah. This has got nice, soft, slow legs coming down the side, coats the glass well. Let's see what we can smell. So the reason we're swirling is not because we're pretentious. We might be, but that's not why we're swirling. It's to give the wine air, which the ethers and the alcohol is where those aromas are kept, and it evaporates at a lower temperature than oxygen, or than water rather, and so that will release some of those airs. So that's why you aerate wine. It's a stony. You get like that stone rock kind of.
I didn't until you said that, but.
And then a nice little lemon.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I was gonna say citrus fruit.
Very much citrusy in its smell.
But I really get that stone now.
Yeah. Really typical of the Chablis region, I'd say, that minerality. So we're probably right on as far as what they're looking for in the wines. You want to give it a taste?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's mouth-watering.
Yes.
Really great acidity to it.
But the sourness.
Yeah, but I get more. You get more stone fruit out of the more of that or tree fruit like that, like a nectarine, or I'm getting something other than just citrus. Maybe like a green apple. Like a lot of green apple flavor. Chardonnay
I couldn't put my finger on it, but that was it.
Very often has this either apple or I'll have a lot of apple notes. Also, I have a lot of lemon notes. Those are pretty typical. This is really clean though.
Absolutely.
There's no of that bitter grapefruit pith or anything like that on it. It's very much crisp, cutting on your tongue kind of. It's delicious. Do you like it? Like it? It's just really, really pretty.
Really long finish on it too.
Mm-hmm. Weighs heavy on the mouth. Kind of like so what we're going to try to do is we'll go through the smell, we'll taste a little bit, we'll talk about its sweetness, whether it's got bitter qualities, whatever, its acidity, and then we'll talk about something. We'll talk about body, and we'll talk about the alcohol level, and we'll talk about tannins. So body is kind of like the weight on your tongue. So I get this as kind of like somewhere between 2% and whole milk. Is that where you'd probably put it, or more on the one side or the other? Not quite whole milk?
I thought it was a little bit lighter than that.
Okay, I'll go 2%. Maybe a mix of 2% and 1%. Yeah, not quite as full-bodied as some Chardonnays.
No,
I'd say.
for sure.
The alcohol is completely integrated. What's the percentage of? 12% alcohol in this wine, which is probably lower than the second wine we're going to have. And I think it's just drinking perfect right now. Like I think that it's in the window. It probably will hold on for a few years, but this is really fresh, bright. Doesn't taste like it needs time.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think it's really integrated wine. Yeah, so we had some fun questions. Kind of how do you know when to drink this wine? So this is we got this here at $26, $25.99. So is this a weekday wine, a weekend wine, a wow them wine, once in a lifetime wine?
Ooh, I think it's a weekend.
This is a nice weekend wine.
It's a nice
yeah,
wine.
This is maybe a weekend wine with company.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if my wife and I would just crack this one open by ourselves
for dinner,
unless it was a little bit of a special occasion. But it's beautiful. At the price, I think $26 for a Chablis Premier Cru is a good value.
Yep.
This is not a cheap part of the world as far as wines are concerned. So I think if you can get something under 30 that you really, really like, that's great.
What'd you pair it with?
Oh, it's got to be fish, right?
Yeah, that's
like
what I was thinking.
I feel like seafood. I mean, I think it's got enough minerality in it that it would go really well with a lot of shellfish as well. Okay. And like even like like lighter salad kinds of fare. I think it's a little heavier bodied for just like a salad. But if it was like like something with salmon on top, like a Caesar salmon salad would be really nice. Something like that. You probably want something that's got a little kick to it, a little bite to it to play with it.
I was thinking like some sort of like citrusy dressing.
Yeah,
salad
yes.
Go well with
definitely, you can definitely amp up the citrus in the food to match the wine. It's not going to get pushed around at all. This will hold its own to most anything on the acidic side. And then company. All right, this is the hard one. This is who do you want to drink this? Who would you want to share this with? Who's in? So
old world wine lovers for
old
sure.
world. Oh, people who love that old world. I also think people who really like that sour, that tartness.
Sauvignon Blanc drinkers.
Sauvignon Blanc drinkers. This is a Chardonnay for Sauvignon drinkers, I think, for sure.
Yeah,
it definitely has that acidity. For people who are turned off by oaky Chardonnays, this is definitely a great way to introduce them to a whole different style. People who love Alsatian wines, that minerality. If you like Alsatian Rieslings, which we'll do something on at some point, I'm sure, because it's one of my favorite regions in the world. So who's going to love this wine? Sourheads will love this wine. People who want that acidic bite. Food lovers. Yeah, people who like to drink wine with their food.
Yeah, it's good to go with.
Yeah.
A lot of different foods.
Who's going to hate this wine?
Well, people are looking for that buttery Chardonnay for
this
sure.
Is definitely
and
not.
People who don't like Sauvignon, like that tart Sauvignon Blanc,
right?
White.
Yeah, we would steer you away.
My wife would not like this.
This is not a wine that Eric would drink with his wife. I think people who are looking for a smoother flavor, or if you're looking for any kind of sweetness at all, this is probably not your wine. So give it a score. We're only scoring in 4 ways here. We're not gonna put a number on it. It's either a nope, a meh, a yeah, or a wow. Got a score?
Yeah.
I think this is a yeah wine for me too. I would definitely split a bottle with somebody, and I'd order it again for sure.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yep.
Value judgment. I think it's worth the money. I think at $26, if you like this style, this is one of the best places in the world to find it. So, cheers. It's a good bottle.
Yeah.
Good way to start.
Totally agree.
Right. All right. Second wine. So, full disclosure, this is one of Eric and I's favorite wines. We weren't going to use this one, but we sold out of the one we were going to use, and so we went to an old favorite. This is Raeburn's Russian River Valley Chardonnay from California. Also 2014 vintage. Russian River Valley makes great Chardonnay, great Pinot Noir. This one is kind of done in more of an oaked style, but what we really like about it is we feel like it's very much, it keeps everything kind of intact, so it's not really, they try to use it judiciously. So what do we smell here? So like vanilla butter.
Vanilla, yeah.
Vanilla butter off the top, just like baked goods. That's what it reminds me of.
Kind of surprised they don't have that in the wheel here.
Sure. You get a little bit of, God, I'm not getting a ton of fruit.
No, I don't get a lot of fruit.
But so the oak's definitely present. That's what I'm getting the most of.
I'd say it's dominant.
Yeah. Let's give it a slurp. Oh wait, let's take a look at it.
Well,
so yeah,
it might be good to look at the legs.
Yeah, for sure. Like you can see that, you can see the color is a little bit darker than the last one we had. I don't know if you can really tell or not, but
oh yeah,
a little more of the golden right in the straw. It's definitely doesn't have any age on it yet, so it's still, as a 2014, it's still not particularly dark.
Look at how slow the legs are.
But it's definitely got a little more thickness. What's the alcohol in this one? Let's see. This is a 14%, so we're jumping up a whole 2%. And it kind of feels that way, or looks that way, I should say. I'd say that coats it really nicely. So
when the legs are moving slow, it
usually is a sign.
Thicker,
yep,
it's more
usually
alcohol.
A sign of a little bit higher alcohol. All right, you ready?
Sign of the body.
Yes, definitely a sign of the body. So,
actually,
again,
more citrus than I expected.
A little bit of citrus. I was going to say there's like a little like lemon curd kind of thing. Like a lot of baked apple. I get that. They're like that kind of cinnamon. There's a little bit of spice too. I get, but that cinnamon, vanilla, just a little bit on the tip of my tongue. I'm getting. This definitely uses the oak as its kind of dominant flavor profile, but it has the acidity to back it up. Like I don't feel like this is a flat wine at all.
Yeah.
You get done and you still get that mouth-watering kind of flavor to it. Much less restricting on your tongue. Like it much smoother on the palate. Almost comes off a little sweet. You know, definitely has that buttery, kind of
buttery
smoothness to it.
The finish is like, I feel like totally different than when it's in your mouth.
Yeah, it definitely has a complexity to it that I'm glad that's there. I think if it didn't have that, it might feel a little like the oak's overpowering it. I like this though. I
like
think
this
is delicious. Yeah, as far as the body. Now we're into that whole milk territory for sure. Mm-hmm. And definitely has a little more weight to it.
Probably, would you say it's about as full-bodied as you're going to get with the Chardonnay? Pretty
close, yeah. I think at least ones that are still really in balance. You know, I don't think you want your alcohol much higher than 14% on these. I don't think this alcohol is out of line.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very integrated. I maybe get a tiny bit of hotness on the finish that will definitely mellow out as it has some time, but it's really still really integrated. It might be just because we're drinking it after the Chablis, which is a little bit lighter bodied.
Yeah. There's a huge contrast.
It really is, and we did that on purpose because we wanted to kind of show what two different winemakers, two different styles could do with the same grape, but in different parts of the world.
You want to kind of talk about how Chardonnay is one of those grapes that really can be molded?
So it's the most planted white grape in the world, and it is very much takes on the character of the terroir, like we saw with the minerality in this wine, and also of what the winemaker does with it. So it absorbs those flavors of the oak, it absorbs those flavors of kind of its vintage and the climate and everything else that kind of goes into kind of all of the things that contribute to the wine.
I think like this is a perfect example of like viticulture, and this is a perfect example of enology.
Yes,
right?
Yes, very much those. So the winemaker,
what the grapes did in the terroir,
yes.
and what the winemaker did after it was harvested.
This is definitely do no harm, hands off, more of that approach. I'm sure there's a ton more to it than that, but that's what it feels like. And this feels like they really played with it and made it their own and put their stamp on it, I would say. So this Raeburn comes in at $18. This is still probably a weekend wine for me. 18.
Yeah,
I've drunk this on a Thursday, but it's not.
It's not an every week
It
wine.
would be
that's
a little.
For sure.
It's a little pricey for
yeah.
that, but definitely a nice dinner on a weekend with your wife or husband or whoever. Share it with your parents, that kind of thing. It's also, I think, right in the window. This wine will age for a couple years. I feel like it's delicious right now. What'd you pair it with?
Chicken, maybe?
Yes, this is definitely poultry. Pasta
Yeah.
would go really well. Cream sauces especially, I would think. I think it would really pair well with a lot of herbal things too. Like if you had like tarragon or thyme or something like that in there, I think it's going to play well off of those flavors. I do, yeah. I really like. Let me get in there. Salmon, be all right. Fattier fish. It's probably a little big for whitefish. Probably push it around a little bit. Yeah, no, I think, and I'd probably stay away from things that were particularly tart. Like this is kind of the exact opposite. Like if you put a really like acidic, like a tomato topping on something, I think it might throw off those flavors a little bit. But it's just, I think like a nice, even like a nice turkey, turkey pasta kind of dish, turkey tetrazzini, that kind of style, cream-based kind of pasta would be perfect for something like this. And who'd you drink it with?
I would drink this one with my wife for sure. She loves this one. Rombauer lovers. Rombauer lovers
Yes.
will.
If we go into who's going to love this wine,
this will impress them.
This will definitely impress the Rombauer drinkers, which is a famous Chardonnay from California that is known for its use of oak. This is coming in at least $10 less, probably more depending on where you buy it, and it really is has that style. I think people too that I've always found that I feel like people who drink red wine, this is the style that gets people into white wine.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point because I didn't really drink white wine before, and I actually went out to Rombauer's when I started drinking white wine, but. Yeah, I would agree.
I think this is a good one for you red wine drinkers that don't think that there's a big enough white wine out there for you. I'd give this one a try.
Or people who don't typically like Chardonnay.
Yeah, I think this is a great one too for folks that maybe need to see a really good use of oak and want to see how delicious it can be. This is a great way to kind of think about that. Who's going to hate this wine? If you need that acid in your wine, you're probably going to be disappointed. I mean, this does have it, but if you love really zippy Sauvignon Blancs or you love, really sharp, French Riesling, this is probably not your wine. That's okay.
Or if you don't like the body. If you
really like a lighter, if you're eating a lot of salad and vegetable kinds of things, this is going to be really heavy for that. So if you're trying to pair something with a light salad, this is probably going to push it around a little bit.
I could see this as something that if it was paired with the wrong thing would really turn someone off.
But paired with the right thing, I think it would sing and make the dish sing as well, which is what good wine does. Give this a score.
Oof.
Is this a yup or a wow for you?
It's close.
I know how much Eric likes this wine. So
I almost feel like if you're taking the price into consideration, it's a wow.
Right.
If you're basing it no price, it's a yup.
Yeah, I would say this is a yup wine for me. I would drink it every time it was served to me happily. I think what it does is it makes it a great bargain.
Yes.
I think that it's for the money. I know it's $18 is a lot to spend on a white wine for some people. I get that, but the quality you're getting is so much more than that. I think for this wine that
especially if you're looking at the other Chardonnays that are in this style, like bread and butter or butter, this is significantly better
for $1 or $2 more. I mean, this is definitely up there. So, yeah, I think this is a great value. I think both these are great values for what they are. I understand they might stretch your budget and you want to save them for a special occasion. These are delicious wines. Highly encourage you guys to try these out or try other Chardonnays out like it. Figure out what style you like. Yeah, so thanks so much. If you are interested in learning more about Chardonnay or about any of the wines that we'll try in the future, we're going to post this on our Facebook site. You can leave comments below. You can also contact the store. One of us is always here to answer questions, or come by and visit. Yeah, and so thanks so much. Look forward to hearing from you all and seeing some new wines next week. Cheers.